who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
WESN.
Hello, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to Breakthrough. I am your host, clearly the not so subtle host, apparently. Apparently, I'm supposed to be an artist, need to learn how to be very subtle. And here to explain that is my co-host, the also not very the opposite of subtle, Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
First of all, you're lucky that I'm here. I could have stayed home. You know, I did my show from home. And I still came out just to do your show in person. I don't appreciate this tone of voice being directed at me at this early stage. Now, that's number one. Number two, I am not an artist, so I do not need to be subtle. But I would just like to point out, the last thing you want to see in your movie is just in your face, you know, by the numbers. There's no grace, there's no subtlety, you know, there's no sophistication, you know, with regards to the storyline and the dialogue, you know, something straight out of a second-tier soap opera. That's the last thing you want to see. Same thing with music, you know. Just look at look at some of the rappers these days. As much as Kendrick's dead, some of the others. I mean, some of them are very not subtle, you know. Case in point, Glorilla and her partner in crime, whose name I won't even say on air.
You
right?
know,
just saying.
First of all,
and that's just one example.
First of all, a Monday never goes by without you mentioning Kendrick.
Hey, with regards to artistry right now, listen, if I had an opportunity, I would have thrown in, but I did, more Deli Veneno references after Dune 2, okay? But, you know, that movie's gone. Top Gun Maverick, I could have thrown in a lot more on that too, right? And right now, Kendrick is the artist. I don't necessarily listen to Taylor Swift, but ironically, the topic that we have to start off the show might some way...
It's not about Taylor Swift.
Hold on. It could get there as an example with regards to one aspect of what we're going to speak about. Okay. So, you know, foreshadowing. Not necessarily subtle, but in my case, not subtle.
Sean Michael Small, a man of many, many words. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're on a talk show. It makes sense. It makes sense. But anyway, as you foreshadowed so eloquently, thank you very much.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say eloquently, but it is what it is.
Good job. But there was a post on Instagram that sort of caught my attention. But it's I'm not going to take it too literally, because there are some details that one don't apply to us, and two a little bit out there. But just the essence of it, because we've had certain conversations like this on air before.
Yes, when we talk about, I actually need you to really break it down where you want to go, because reading that, it seemed like a lot of word salad that went nowhere.
I know.
I'm just like, I know what we spoke about before the show.
Right.
But the prompt that you sent me, I'm like, whoever wrote this needs to get their money back from whatever college they went to.
Well, like I said, it's an Instagram post. It wasn't like from a newspaper or editorial or anything like that.
And I'm sure this person is supposed to be educated. So whether they had to get their money back from their college, they had to get their money back from their state school board for their high school if it was public, or the private school if it was private. Like somebody, you know, gave them a fraudulent education, given the, you know.
Okay, but the general overarching topic is scarcity versus abundance, and that's what, and the mindset of those two things. And sometimes when we're in a mindset of scarcity, we are very hyper aware of the lack. We are very hyper aware of what we don't have, right? And and I feel like when we constantly exist in a scarcity mindset, then we constantly exist in a victim mindset, right? So, and on some level, maybe it can bleed into an entitlement mindset, depending on which direction you go with it. But in terms of the scarcity versus abundance, so it's something that I'm always very aware of, and it's easier to think in terms of scarcity. It's easier to think of what you don't have, because it is it can be quite limiting to the artists and their purpose and their projects and their art, right? So, but then there's also, if we perceive ourselves as having lack, do other people also perceive us as not having enough? And do other people, I might perceive myself as a victim of, nobody's here to help me, I'm a struggling artist, etc., etc. But then that will also shape how other people view me.
A very, very common trope in certain, I guess you could say, dramas around the world is that, say, if the story is centered around the entertainment industry, and the main character always seemingly has all the help, and the antagonist is always, no one loves me, no one helps me, everyone only helps them, and it's like, is it that everyone only helps them, or is it a reason why it seems as though they always have help? That's number one. Or, to some extent, is it that it's just, and this is something that I think most people, when they hear anything along these lines, from you bringing it up as a topic of discussion to actual people having complaints, they don't always, unless they have direct experience, and even then they might take it for granted, they don't always understand that sometimes it is an issue of perception of the beholder, right? Because you are operating with an assumption based off of imperfect knowledge. Why is it nobody helping me? Well, the assumption there is that other people get help, and maybe other people don't get help. Maybe you just think they are getting help. For all you know, the help they're getting is favors to repay favors they gave out, right? Or is a transactional arrangement, and maybe you think, well, it's still not fair because they got an in. Well, again, you don't know if the connections and the networking they got was done in a very normal, fair manner or an unfair manner. But it's easy to feel victimized, and then so when I say beholder, I was actually more referencing the people that hear the complaints.
Okay.
And want to be like, yes, you know, right? Yes, them people always are evil and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then it snowballs, right? Because everybody, rather than saying, what is the truth of the matter, or what is the truth of the industry that we're speaking about, right? They're just looking at where they themselves felt victimized, even if it's not in the same type of space, right? Case in point, because this is a topic that is very political and we don't necessarily want to go there, but just as an example, my one caller brought this up today, with regards to water in TNT. Water as a public utility is a little bit different because, you know, it's not one water system, it's many. So to some extent, you're limited by budget and what's available, right? And of course, there are reasons why people will not give the authorities the benefit of the doubt. And everyone has had a bad experience with water supply. So when you hear someone complain about water, not that they necessarily have bad intentions in their complaint, and sometimes their complaints are extremely valid and extremely true. And sometimes it's just a case where it's a complicated system and they are more falling through the cracks, right? And it just hasn't been addressed yet, but they feel victimized. As opposed, it's not always intentional, but they feel victimized. So of course, now the rest of us are like, oh my gosh, yes, it happened to us too. They're wicked. And sometimes they are wicked. And sometimes it is people fall through the cracks and you always try to do a better job. But that's with government, where government has a responsibility, right? And you can hold them accountable for that. In an artistic endeavor, right? to what extent does the industry owe you anything? Right? Because part of it too is the more people want to be an artist professionally, the more you're going to have people who are going to fail at it. Because just because 10 times more people want to do the job doesn't mean that the industry could grow by 10 like that. It can't absorb the amount of people that want to be in the space. Right? It can't absorb the extra singers. It can't absorb. Like imagine if however many soca artists we had now, imagine if we double that next year. That ain't gonna fly. There ain't enough fets. There ain't enough radio airplay. Somebody is going to be left, you know, not getting any sort of recognition.
Well then, so then my response to that will be that's why you tend to see a lot of artists being those sort of multi-skill artists, right? Not just being the master of one, right? And by the way, the full quote people, jack of all trades, master of none, is oftentimes better than a master of one. That's the full quote, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, I learn something every day.
That's the full quote. So anytime somebody has a negative thought about, oh, you're doing too much, you're a jack of all trades, well, focus on one thing. No, because when that one thing is filled.
Ironically, and we'll touch on this principle of mine as the conversation continues, if we touch on so many things we touched on earlier. I'll disagree with that as an absolute statement. Because there are times when if you are the master of something, you could grow, you could learn the other things by the way. But sometimes being a master, right? A lot of content creators on the internet, they get where they are because they are the best at something.
Well, so yes, so in that case, I will say, because the way I think about it is, you have your thing, but then you're also good at different things.
Right. The most successful ones, though, are the master of one who are also jack of all trades and a couple other things,
exactly.
Right? But the key point is jack of all trades, master of none. That can work, but doesn't always work. You still, it's more like you're compromising both absolute positions. It's not jack of all trades or master of one.
Yeah, no.
It is, you know, trying to master one while being proficient.
Right. So this is the thing with all of these quotes, right? It shouldn't just be taken, it can't always be taken absolutely and literally all of the time. There's some sort of deeper meaning. So when it's jack of all trades versus, it's not jack of all trades, as you said, jack of all trades or master of none or master of one, whichever one. It's sometimes in some situations you do have to be multi-skilled and be good at many other things, but then there are times when you have to call on that thing that is your thing and make it your thing and make that the best thing.
So we spoke about
and the absolute best.
And I made the comment that, you know, and I was wrong to make it, because I said, and I made an absolute statement, so I was wrong, right? A professional artist cannot be successful only in his artistic skill.
Right.
But actually, I do think if you are the very best, if you are literally the very best pianist in the world, to some extent, other people will sort the stuff out for you because you are that in demand.
Right.
Right? But not everybody could be the very best. The very best is by definition one. And if you want to say among the very best, it is the few, right?
Right.
So around the world, we're talking internationally at the top of the food chain, right? So for everybody else who are good, great, excellent, it might not be enough because a professional endeavor is more than just the core skill. A doctor with a practice needs to understand how to run their practice. A chef with a restaurant needs to understand the logistics, the management, you know, the upkeep, the overhead, the budgeting, all of that. And an artist is no different, because you had an axiom with regards to producing an artist. Not every artist should be producers.
Right. Yes. Okay. So yes. So I was
trying not to take his line from it, folks. But
that's okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Because you know this from experience.
Yes. Yes. So I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and you know, I told them, you know, I realized just because you're in the industry and you are an artist or a band does not mean that you have the necessary skills to put on a concert all on your own, right? And there are certain skills that producing is a specific skill. Right? Directing is a specific skill.
Now, when you say producing and directing, break that down specifically.
So, producing, let's say producing an event, right? If you're producing an event, you have to think about the environment that you set for your performers, the environment that you set for your audience members, how accessible is the audience to the band in terms of like ticket sales and social media engagement and that sort of thing. And then what also goes into an event, there's a lot of PR that goes into it, not just media, but also a lot of in-person networking. Hi, come, this is what we're putting on, we're doing this show, etc., etc. There's a lot of talking to other people. Hey, we're doing this, sourcing funds at the beginning because you need some sort of capital. All of those things, when put together, it looks easy when you're attending the concert.
Yeah.
But when there are a lot of different moving parts, you don't see those different moving parts. You just see the final product. But there's a lot to go into it, and I realize that not everyone in the industry, not every artist in the industry, one, knows how to, and two, maybe doesn't want to, and that's why they need to source outside help and outside collaboration and that sort of thing.
Does it feel like for any artistic endeavor to be successful, they kind of have to figure out how to do their own thing? We have yet to really figure out, and we don't have a supporting cast, you know, to spread around.
Yes, but I would say you kind of do need to do your own thing with the skills that you have. And coming back to and I think this links to now you don't know what skills you have until you try something, right?
Right, okay. And you could always start off bad and end up.
Yes, and then end up good. But if it is that but if you feel like, what am I trying to say? So it can work, but at some point you do have to realize, okay, it doesn't work out too well when I do this thing. That's not under the umbrella of my things. So I need to find somebody or get some sort of help, get some sort of collaborations happening where that person is really good at that thing so that I can focus on my other things. So, for example, so it's not that I am bad. I'm good at conducting. I consider myself good at directing, producing, and also performing. But there comes a time, especially for my upcoming concert, I'm also performing with the group. So I sometimes in rehearsals have to take off the director hat, the producer hat, and turn on the performance hat, right? And put myself in that sort of mindset. But it's not that I can't do those things. It's because I need to put my focus into certain things at certain times, right? So just taking that example, coming back to it, you can try to figure things out, but there will come in certain situations, there will come a time when you can't do everything all at once, all at the same time.
Yeah,
it's just
physically
exactly.
impossible.
Right. And then in terms of the directing point that I made,
that's the show itself, basically.
The show itself. Not everybody could be a conductor.
Yeah.
You need musicians to conduct, and musicians need a conductor to guide them, right? I remember we had the same conversation with a singer who was on here, Sintaiki Bishop, and I asked her, is it that people need to be producing their own work? Because if we have all of these producers, we don't have any actors left. And she said, no, because not everybody can do it. But a lot of people need to come up with their own work and their own original art. And she said that may involve collaborating with some people, that may involve finding some people who can make the thing happen so that you can do your thing, you can do your art, right? Do the thing that you're a master at. What tends to happen is when we are in the scarcity mindset, we think that we don't have, so we go in trying to produce the things with the wrong intentions. We go in trying to produce the things of, oh my gosh, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have that. What is going on and then that starts to stir fear, and that starts to stir a lot of negative emotions, and that sort of clouds the intentions.
Yeah, we had a whole therapy session for you about this not too long ago. If you remember.
Now here's the thing. Since you brought it up.
All right, new concert, new round of.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
You're fine.
I'm fine.
You're fine.
I'm absolutely great.
That's usually what people say when they're not fine.
No, I'm fine. But at the time, I needed to remind myself what I did have.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Because you lean on what you have.
You lean on what
Not
you
everybody
have.
has the same amounts of the same things.
Exactly. There is a group of people who, one, support me. There is a group of people who believe in the vision. And there are a group of people who also contribute, not just as performers, but in their own individual way, right? So what is going on with you?
No comment.
Okay, sure.
Leave that alone.
Okay, please. Don't do it. But yes, but it's a matter of me recognizing I do have an abundance to get this thing done.
So, right, that's the next thing. A lot of people who feel, oh my gosh, no one is helping me. It possibly comes back down to two things. One, they want to be the, I'm just an artist. I'm just a struggling artist. And my art, and why doesn't anybody want to come and hear my art? And it's like, hold on, you need to have some amount of understanding, either to do it yourself or to get somebody to help you do it, how to distribute, how to market, how to promote, right? What appearances to go to get appearances, to get yourself out there. You can't just be the artist with art and have no idea how to get your art out to the public to distribute it, right? You don't have to know how to do it, but you need someone to help you do it. And therein lies the next part about it. No one is helping me with financing. Nobody is helping me with, like a lot of it comes back down to networking. You either have the skills in the various areas to produce the work, to manage the business side of the work, the distribution and promotion and marketing of the work, right, etc. The legal aspects of the work. You either have them yourself or you have the networking skills to find people that you could trust to do it for you, right? Either one of those things, or well, the first one is a set of skills and the second one is social skills, right, is things that you need to be able to do outside of being an artist. If you want to be a successful artist.
Right, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, when Sting broke up with the police, he had to have the skills to network, reach out to a whole set of jazz musicians that he never really played with professionally before. Right. Then the leadership skills to bring them all together, sell them on the vision, put the first concert on in Paris, right? And then of course he had his pregnant significant other just there waiting to pop while the concert's coming out, right? He had a documentary being filmed at the same time. He had all these hats being juggled, but to some extent he had to trust the band members to kind of do their part, all of the behind the scenes and technical people to kind of do their part, the documentary people to do their part, his wife to try and not pop in the middle of the opening concert to do her part, but they had a plan and ready to go, you know? And it's not just his skill as a singer-songwriter and musician. It was his skill as to be able to either put it together himself or know who he could go to. Right. And part of it is he was a part of a band where there were three. Now it's all on him. So he really had to step up now and not just rely, I'm just an artist, you know, and why does the world expect me, you know, I just want to be pure with the vision, man. It's like, no, right? Think about any successful artist, right? Clint Eastwood. One of the reasons why he's such a great director is that he started to look beyond just being the actor of a spaghetti western, right? And you could go across the board. There's a lot of some of the best actors. They have directing experience. They have producer credits. They have writing credits. Why? Because they wanted to understand more of the business. When you get some of the most successful athletes in team sports, they don't just understand what they do, they understand what the rest of the team does. Right? They're coaches, some of them, they're coaches on the field. Not because they want to be coaches right there in the moment, but because you need to have those extra skills, right? The leadership skills, the intangibles. And for art, it's no different. And if you just want to be me, well, it will always feel like you don't have any help because you yourself, I myself am bad at networking. So I understand that feeling, but I'm not about to blame the world.
Right. Yeah, but what I would also like to add just as we close up this segment, it could be we need to be careful about the scarcity mindset because it's also a bit of a selfish mindset because then you focus on the I as in what I don't have. I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, this is not good enough, etc., etc. Where it's a sense of flip it because when you focus on the lack, you do sort of direct the attention to yourself in a sense of I don't have enough of this, and you're just saying that, hoping that somebody will probably come and save you or something like that.
Do you think a lot of failed artists fall for that trap? Like, that's one of the biggest reasons why?
Yes, I think so, but I think we're not aware of what that does. We're not aware of what that does to the human psyche. We're not aware that abundance, we're not aware that it's okay to start small. It's okay to just be, because since you brought up saying, yes, he had to figure some things out, but he also had to face the realities of the situation when he started off his solo career, right? Or this is for anybody. You know, it's not going to be what it was, but if I'm going to figure this thing out, I need to be realistic of what's in front of me and make the best out of it. So you're actually looking outward to see what is in front of me, as opposed to looking inward. Oh, I wish I had this, I wish I had this. It's not good enough, it's not safe enough, it's not extraordinary enough, all of those things. And then that leads to the reward of, once you look at what you have, then you put energy into what you have, as opposed to, because if you put the energy into what you don't have, then the energy is actually not going anywhere. The intention is not going anywhere.
What you mean is, you put the energy in to be like, woe is me, I don't have.
Exactly.
Not put the energy in development.
Exactly. So really quickly, because we ran out of time, if I have a group of people in front of me and they have certain skills, I can either be like, oh, I wish they had this skill, as opposed to, these are the skills they have, let's make the best out of it, right? These are the skills that I have, I'm going to make the best out of it. As opposed to, we don't have. No, we have. It's just a matter of figuring out how to use what we have to make the best out of it, right? That's the discussion for this morning, ladies and gentlemen, Trinidad and Tobago. When we come back from the break, we sat with an incredible artist, and he's going to tell us his story. And yes,
a man with many skills.
A man with many skills. A man with many skills. So when we come back from the break, we're going to take a look at that interview. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
Because vision doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that spit arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, you know, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not
game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Trinidad and Tobago, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the breakthrough table again with my co-host, Sean Michael Small.
No regrets this time.
No regrets this time, you know, because like I said in the previous episode, it'd be terrifying. You know, it'd be a terrifying experience, but my buddy is here with me.
Things I do for friendship.
Okay. No, nothing, no exposition, nothing. Okay, that's fine. Oh, he's all tired, guys. Pray for him.
He's disappointed now. Grass is always green on the other side.
Wow.
You'll miss it when it's gone. Case in point. But there's more to that, but we can't say.
Yes, we can't say that. Oh my God.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
But also joining us at the breakthrough table, we've had him on the show, not on this show, but we've had him on the station before. Those of you who remember Carnival, he was actually one of the first guests of Carnival. We have with us on the breakthrough table, Sucre. Hello, good morning. How are you?
Blessed, good day, good day. I'm fine. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, not a problem. So, I mean, recently, Sean and I would have spoken about Carnival before. And you had a very interesting and successful Carnival season. Why don't you tell, I won't say it, why don't you tell everybody what happened?
Okay, most notably, I am the inaugural Ultimate Youth Soccer Champion.
That's what we like.
Thank you.
That's what we like. What was that process like? And first of all, actually, I want to start from the end and then work backwards. That moment when they announced it, that you were the winner. What was going through your head?
I'm not gonna lie to you, in that moment, I was firstly relieved because this is my first soccer competition. So the preparation journey is new to me, and especially at a magnitude where the entire country, even the region or even the world by large is looking on. So I had to come with my A game.
Right.
So I felt so relieved. I felt a sense of pride for both myself and my team, which is Zig Boy Music. it was a really great experience. Additionally, too, I knew that this was more of a milestone rather than a destination.
Right.
Because most definitely, I would have more work to do. I would get more work to do, and especially in a industry where all of this would have to be, I guess we'd have to start from the beginning once the new season begins.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of just continuing to get better.
Well, maybe not entirely starting over from scratch, because you still kind of have a certain amount of momentum. The more success you have on an artist,
most definitely,
the more people will kind of look forward to what you're going to do, maybe give you more leeway to interpret your work, you know. But I do want to ask, because you're the inaugural. So have you thought about the implication of what that means? Because fair and unfairly, to some extent, the success of this crown, this part of the competition of Carnival, it's not totally up to you, but like you're the first one. So, you know, like if you're a bad champion in a way, it could have a negative effect. You could be a great champion and it still might have its ups and downs. But you set the tone. You start off the train, you know, because you're the first. Like, there will probably be many others after you, but there will never be another first, right? And your image, your vibe sets that tone, kind of sets up this hopefully yearly event now for success. Like, have you thought about that? The weight of the position of you having to be in this one?
A couple weeks removed from Carnival now. How does it feel?
Most definitely, I did think about all of this, because at the end of the day, this is going to be something that you cannot erase from the history books, whether continued, discontinued, regardless. My name will forever be in the history books of Trinidad and Tobago. And I will always be looked at now, because especially since my song isn't necessarily the most popular, I was still able to execute. So coming from a quote-unquote nobody to somebody, more eyes will be on me. So definitely they're going to continuously look forward to what I have, additionally to what the competition would be able to have, because they're looking at the results from the competition. So now they're going to try and see what's next.
It's interesting. You said my song might not have been the most popular song, but I executed to win the competition. Like, there's so much implications out of that, because usually you could say that in many years, it's the popular song, right? Unless there's no popular song, then who knows who wins, right? Then maybe the winner becomes the eventual popular song after the competition, right? But you had to come potentially from behind. And this also, in a way, I don't know, I'll hesitate to say that it's a first, but it's not something that you would see often happen. Like, how do you feel about potentially doing that? And more importantly, how do you feel? I assume you would say it's good for the industry, but like, this is something that the industry maybe needs to pick up more on now, not just to say like, oh, well, they're popular from day one, so we just assume that's the most popular song. We assume that's the winner. That gets the most airplay, you know, that gets the most exposure. And then everybody else doesn't necessarily get the exposure that they deserve unless Private Ryan makes like a mixtape, right? And includes them in it, right? In which case, that might be one of the more popular songs, but people, there will never be a way to measure that, because you just run into the whole CD. You know, so what do you make about that? About maybe not changing the industry, but chipping away a little bit at the industry assumptions and norms?
And that I definitely understand. What I would say personally, I think it's a bit of both, in the sense that the artists, yes, they will have to do work to get their song out there, as well as the people would also kind of play a part in terms of what they choose to listen to, not necessarily holding them accountable or holding something over their heads, but, you know, at least we give each other space for everything to happen. You know, and that's something I definitely think would be beneficial to the industry moving forward. Additionally, with the inclusion of this competition, because in the past, a lot of youths, including myself, we've been asking for platforms for many, many, many years. Now we've finally gotten it. It's just to execute. and everybody just work together in that type of way.
Yeah. Right. Now, in terms of like working together, now we started off at the moment. Now, at the moment that you announced the winner, in terms of the process, what was that like? Was winning that one of your goals going into it? One of the things that you wanted to do, or was it a matter of I just want to participate in this and see where it goes? What was the intention, and then what was the process like?
Okay, first let me talk about the process. Let me talk about the process.
You survived the process.
Yes, you survived the process.
Those who do music, arts, or performance rehearsals,
All right, but let me still explain.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Trying to balance preparing for this competition as well as being the front line for a band, which is Evolution, the band. It really wasn't the easiest. It really wasn't the easiest, especially multiple shows a night and still trying to find time to prepare with my dancers, everybody else who were on the stage with me, the back-end people organizing my lights and cues, this, that, the other. It really hasn't been the easiest because during that process, we also had a lot of hiccups where certain things weren't in place when we tried to put it in place, so we had to come up with plan B, sometimes a plan C or a plan D. I'm not gonna lie to you, it has not been easy at all. But regardless, I executed, and this would answer the next question. I'm going to answer the next question. I personally did not care to win.
Okay.
I wanted to just be on the stage and be visible to the nation and all the viewers, which is why I felt a sense of relief because I executed on the stage.
Like as you finished the performance, without even the results. Without the results, there was relief immediately at the end.
Immediately at the end.
Okay.
We executed. Our purpose was fulfilled. They know the name Sucre now, whether I won or not.
Or not, yes.
Yeah. I just wanted people to say, this youth man have our vibes. I go watch here for the near future. Because I think that's just what we want.
Yeah.
You know, we want eyes on our product.
Yeah.
Right. So that sort of comes back to a discussion that we have had before, where it's that whole balancing act of the awards and the rewards versus the art itself and the artistic process, right? And you said you went into it without any expectations to win. You just wanted to display your art and do your thing.
That's correct.
Right?
Be seen and be heard.
Right. And I think that's a good mindset to have in certain competitions, because we had another artist. We've had another artist on this show, Riz, and he used to be in the Chutney Soca Monarch competitions, and he said, you know what, when he was determined to, when he was focused on only winning, he wouldn't place. And then when it was a matter of I just wanted to go and have fun and have vibes, he would eventually place. And then I believe there was a year that he won or came close to winning. So it's all about those intentions going into it. Now, actually, I do have to make a correction. It was not last year at Carnival for us. We are in 2025. I keep forgetting that.
Oh, right.
It was 2023.
Is that true?
Yes. Right, so in 2023, in Carnival, you had your song out, Oh My Baby, right?
Yes.
Since then, how many songs have you had releases? Have you released? What sort of projects have you been involved in? We're just kind of checking up on the last 2 years, which speaking of the process.
All right, okay.
So you survived all that too, right? So be proud. Let's go.
Well, let's start with Oh My Baby.
Right.
So Oh My Baby was the first. Then was Life I Love It.
Yes, right, yeah.
And then it was the summer right after. Right, this is 2024 summer, actually, I should say.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, 2024 season, I wrote and produced Pump for College Boy Jesse, who is the frontliner of the All Stars band.
Right.
What else is there? I did some production on Calypso by Vaughn from outer Greendot. Additionally, what else is there? In the summer, I did a remix, an unofficial remix for Tyler's Jump. Okay. Right, and that was also one of the first visualizers brought forth by Zigboy, where we did a series called The Hotspot. Okay. We come in and do a visualizer, and we making that a thing because Zigboy doesn't only do music. We do photography, we do videography, events management, and all that different stuff, right? Additionally, in that summer period, I had my own release entitled Warrior 4, which was like a soca, amapiano, zest hybrid, you know? Okay. Additionally, I did some production for the dancehall artists under the camp, Manny and Philo. Their songs were entitled Disco Freak by Manny, Arch Your Back by Philo, Deeper Love also by Philo. And coming out of the summer, going into the carnival season, I'm not gonna lie, this has been probably I have so many different credits. I was one of the producers of the Radioactive Rhythm, which featured Spine, Yankee Boy, and Sedonia with one song, Razor, and Leon's, as well as Kerry John. I did some production on that rhythm. I also released a rhythm which included myself, Hey Choppy, and Show in Manchester called the Compa Fever Rhythm. This is a more groovy, like real groovy island vibe type of rhythm. I did production and writing for Natasha Wilson. Her song is entitled Warrior. Additionally, I did some more production for Vaughn Again. This is me and Tano with a song entitled Bacchanal Lady. Okay. What else is there? Boy? It's plenty, you know.
I'm like, wow, yeah.
It's plenty, it's plenty.
Because it leads me to the question where I want to ask, like, one of the things, like with TV, right? It's not like you can't take a class to like how to not be nervous in front of a camera when live on television, right? Or even recorded, right? So, and I was telling Mark, well, look, you just need to have your reps in. It's similar to being a stage performer. Yeah. You can't, and some people will do it naturally. They don't have any fear. Most people, that's not the case. And especially if you have any sort of nerves or stage fright, you just need to do it,
that's
right?
True.
And with art now, to some extent, like I remember seeing a lecturer lecturing about writing, about novel writing. It's like, most novelists, they don't want their first novel to be popular because they need to have like a few pieces of work under their belt, right? To know what's good, what to develop themselves,
That's
right?
True.
But where I'm going with this is you have so much experience now. You did production for here, you did production for there, you work with these people. So even though it might not be your song, you're being exposed to all of these experiences and thought process and what we're going to do about this and helping them solve this problem and that problem. And then networking, experiencing their stuff, their processes, maybe taking things, adding it to yourself. Like, how much value do you think that was for your eventual now this season? It's so much work, but because you're so deep in the work now, right? You're immense in it. Like, man, everything firing at 110%. The car, it's all gas, no brakes. We ain't stopping now. Like it was hard. But I do wonder if that actually might have added, not that you want to do it every year, to your eventual win and to how well the season went for you.
But most definitely, because what I learned, even before coming into this season, before I didn't exactly have the best song for a band, because right now a live band is the in thing right now. People requesting a live band more than running on with that track.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a lot more interesting than,
So, coming out of the previous season, which was last season, I immediately started thinking, I need to create a song that is easily transcribable for a live band. Because before I didn't exactly have it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think maybe the easiest thing to do was to have a production with live instruments. And that was like an easy thing for me.
Because you do it from the start. Yes. You don't have to then come from behind and figure out, how do you play this live when I did it on a synthesizer?
Yeah. So I called in a live drummer, called in live guitar, live bass, live brass. You know, additionally with my own production. My computerized production.
But you still have the live elements that could easily then be
Yes.
live.
Yes, it's already there, so it's really just to transfer it and then for everybody else to come in and add their own expertise same way. And I guess that's just my thought process because I knew that's what I was going to face for the next time. You know, so eventually I also had to come up with a concept to work with those epic sonics at the same time, you know, so I had to create. I had to come into my own elements and create in that way.
And this is where all that studio time with other people helps, because you've heard so many more things than if it was just your projects alone.
Right.
You've seen what worked, what didn't work. And
That level of collaboration, working and writing and producing.
That is true, and I must also big up my manager, Spine. Spine, you could say, is like the ultimate entertainer, as real people just call him. He started off as an artist. He eventually got into production, got into engineering, got into all sorts of different things. So I was under his guidance same way. And that's how it usually goes. He don't really sit down and produce nothing again. Most times he'd be in the room, I like this, I think you should do this, that, the other. And he would sometimes also play the role of creative director. So that is what we help too.
I mean, you're one of the first soca artists that I've heard you're speaking using technical terms. You're going deep into the production, behind the scenes sides. You know, it's not shallow at all, surface level stuff. I mean, at this point, I'm wondering, you're more like a producer that does music on the side? You know, like a Pharrell?
Well, I mean, not to toot our own horn. But I mean, you know, as graduates of the Department of Creative and Festival Arts, we have to be a little bit, you know, make sure that we say the right things.
This is where they start to lose me, when they start to toot their own horns. No, but no offense, but his accolades right now are a little bit more impressive to me than yours.
Wow!
Nah, man. I wouldn't say that because I have been seeing a lot of the things Mr. Peter been doing. And I must commend you same way too.
Thank you very much.
I must commend.
No, it's true. Y'all are not just limited to being musicians.
No, for sure.
Right? It's just that, you know, the producer credits.
No, yeah, for sure.
I know what organizer / musical director / performer, that's like, to me, that's old hat, you know, a producer at this level, production, and, you know, that's like, oh, wow. Because things like this makes me think, oh, wow, there's a good chance for the future.
Yeah.
Because you're not just thinking, oh, I need a song. You're thinking, oh, I need to change my process to fit with the demands of the next year, of the trends of music, of getting live musicians. You're looking at it strategically, technically, like, and you're not one of those singer-songwriters who has to depend on a whole set of other people to do all these other things.
For that, because that is money same way too.
That is money. That is very. Hey, in TNT, if you want to make money, one of the best, most straightforward ways to do it is to do as much as you can yourself, right?
Really?
Fix your own house, you know, be your own chef in your own restaurant, you know, be your own driver for your business, or be your own producer for your own music.
That's true. That's true. I will say on sort of the slightly opposite side of it, it's always good to have that team that is contributing to the work, that also believes in the work as much as you do, maybe even more.
That is very important because one perspective is not enough.
Yeah.
Because you will need different perspectives in order to make sure that what you're doing is best suited.
Yeah.
You know, and that there are limited risks because at the end of the day, this is business and you want to make sure that you mitigate anything that might hinder.
Exactly.
So you want to get as much critics or critiques, I should say.
Yes, perspectives to sort of drive the thing forward. Now, as we're about to wrap up now, you went in with intentions to have a good time. What are the intentions for the future?
Continued work, continued development, really and truly. Most times you'd hear a lot of people saying that in 5 years, in 6 years, you want to accomplish certain things, this, that, the other. Honestly and truly, I don't live that way because let's just say in 5 years, I want to accomplish something. God might have it that I am not ready for it and it might take longer, or he might think I am selling myself short and it take a shorter time. You know, so honestly and truly, I just leave everything up to God, and that is what brought me my success in the Ultimate Youth Soca Champion, and that also has brought success in capturing the Guyana's Road March for 2025, which I wrote and produced. So I must definitely say congratulations to Omaya Hall, the Road March Queen. well deserved and excellent artist, same way. That's great. So everything is just up to God at this point.
I mean, I know many successful soca stars who don't write their own stuff or produce it. I'm just saying. But I don't know if you have a final.
It's not uncommon. What's that?
I have a final question. I don't know if you have.
Go ahead. No, yeah, you go ahead.
So, what would you rather have, right? And this might be open to interpretation, but it goes back to somewhat where we started. Because you said you didn't necessarily have the most popular song, but you acknowledge to some extent having widespread distribution is important for an artist.
That's true.
So would you rather have popularity, or would you rather refine your skills so that your skills are above others? Because take Eminem, for example. Right now, I think a lot of people say he might be his most skilled version of himself, but that version is not the most popular version of himself, right? So what would you rather have? Would you rather strike a chord with as much people as possible with your art, or just be so skilled at your art? You're doing such amazing things. Maybe not everybody could fully appreciate it, but it's like, it's lifting off the stratosphere. What would you rather? There's no wrong answer here.
I understand that question. And I think I'd answer it with just allowing things to happen for myself, but regardless, I still put in the work to ensure a successful run for myself. Because at the end of the day, it's still not necessarily making music for yourself. At the end of the day, we are in a service industry and we are public servants, you could say. So what we do has to facilitate a certain group of people. So I think it's really just a matter of me continuing to do the work and eventually reaching the ears, the eyes, and the hearts of the audience.
I've never heard that description before.
I think is it two things now? I can't remember. If it's like two things, like the way how you put something, I'm like, that is the way it's supposed to be said.
Yeah.
So I would just like to say, not only would I wish more artists be their own producers and think strategically and stuff, but to consider themselves as public servants, because you're right, like it's a service industry. When people say it, it seems like it's all kind of food. I want to thank all the fans. It's like, yes, you thank the fans. Because it seems foolish and silly and obvious, but someone has to pay the bills. And that's where the money comes from.
And that's where it comes from. That's listen, always a fun time to have you on the show, on the station.
I do wish more public servants would.
We're not going there, Wrong show.
Public servants.
Wrong show.
You're being outdone by a soca producer
This is BT,
I'm just saying.
This is BT, not TP, okay? Leave that for TP.
If a soca star could do it, somebody rest all you could do it, not just the public servants,
I'm ignoring them. Sucre, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bankers, loan officers, well, maybe not loan officers. But,
are you finished?
So teachers, some teachers.
Hey!
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
We land there.
Again, Sucre, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you. We wish you all of the success. Keep us updated with everything that you do. With all of the 10 million things that you're doing, all of the 10 million projects. We need that. Trinidad and Tobago, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a wonderful episode. Sean Michael Small, Mark Anthony Peter. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Dr. Joanne Williams-Carroll, and I am the Director of Behavioral and Mental Health at the Community Hospital. At the Community Hospital, we believe in nurturing mind, body, and soul. Through our counseling and chaplaincy